Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Bill Nager, and I'm your MC for this afternoon. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Downtown Renewal Project folks who asked me to conduct this afternoon. I'm honored and already choking up. Because when I think of what we went through in 1993, it was an awesome time. It was a time that brought us together as a community. And that's why we're here today, is to recognize the hard work that all of us did, that all of us here participated in, that the many volunteers that came into this community and helped us to save this town. It was 228 years ago that the French inhabitants, les habitants of the old town of St. Genevieve, decided to move from the old town site 2 to 3 miles south of here. Because the Mississippi River was already then eroding the riverbanks. And during that year of 1785, l'année de Grande Eau, that was a final clincher to the original inhabitants of St. Genevieve fighting the Mississippi. They moved to this site, what they called les petites côtes, the little hills, to save them, thinking that they were moving to high enough ground to ever have to fight the flood again. And in 1844, up here, that we are sitting on les petites côtes. This was safe ground back then. It's 1844. We fought it again. We fought it in 1943. We fought it in 1973. We fought it in 1993. We almost had to fight it in 2013, but for a federal levy. But just a month ago, the Mississippi River was knocking at our door at almost 43 feet. That was 3/10 of a foot less than what we fought in 1973, than the crest in 1973. So we're thankful for that federal levy, because today, whenever the river comes up and knocks at St. Genevieve's door, we're not nearly as... There's not that hustle and bustle and scurrying around town to try to figure out how we're going to beat it. So, in particular today, we are celebrating 1993, but we're celebrating all the successes that we've had through all the years. And the concept of the dedication of this park is with that in mind, to recognize what has been done. I can't tell you how many times, looking at that flood gauge pole back here along Main Street, that I've stopped and just tried to calculate what it must have been like in the earlier years, the ones that I didn't experience, for those people, and to see it, and to think that we are standing on the site where the levee, the 1993 levee, came through, and we even have a piece of it still left behind us back here. You know, what a monument and a testament to the hard work of all of you and of everybody that came to St. Genevieve and helped us fight this flood. The concept for this park originated amongst a group of folks called the St. Genevieve Downtown Renewal Project, whose title is sort of also the mission statement, to try to revitalize, develop downtown St. Genevieve. So the idea of a river gauge park here that would have various pillars representing the different flood levels along a walkway on this side, with each year and the pillar identifying that height that would in a way replace what we see on the utility pole out here. And over along this side, here's a drawing of it, nice concept rendering. Gene Rissover, thank you for doing that for us, of different descriptions and photographs of things. along with some water features. And I realize that I'm starting to take over some of your portion of the program here, Jan.
You're fine. Stay with it.
I should like to introduce to you right now the president of the downtown St. Genevieve Downtown Renewal Project, Jan Bronze, whose committee has conceptualized and brought us to this point today in all of this. So would you like to say a few words, please?
Did you leave anything out?
I need the break.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bill. As the little notes in your chair say, it's just to reiterate what Bill said, this is remembering the flood. It's not celebrating the flood. We're commemorating the work of 30,000 volunteers that put in such extraordinary effort to save St. Genevieve. And so in that, in their honor,
Trade places with you here.
what we're envisioning here is, instead of the one river gauge post, we're going to have one for each of the major floods in the 20th century before the levee. Obviously, historically, from front to back, this will be the 1993 flood, which has the most drama because it's moving toward the back. You'll walk and see all of this. It'll be a very comfortable little park, and over here what we'll have is informational signage to discuss the history and the ramifications and the success of the levee and all the work that everyone's put in. This is being done, as I said, by the St. Genevieve Downtown Renewal Project, which is a tax-exempt, not-for-profit organization. So we will be soliciting donations today and forever, probably. So it's not being funded by the city, but of course it is a city park. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Bill.
Thank you, Jan. At this point, I'd like to call on our mayor, Richard Greminger, to welcome you and to recognize a few of the folks in the crowd. Dick, if you would, please.
Thank you, Bill. It's really great to see as many people turn out for this and to remember the flood of '93. And as Bill alluded to, just a month ago, we could have had a flood. We could be cleaning up from one right now if it wouldn't be for what was done. And if anything good came out of the flood of '93, it was the fact that we did get a $40 million levy with the help of everybody and an awful lot of people here and awful lot of people lobbying for that. But today, if you think about it, other than people in Levee District 3 that has to man the pump house and make sure that the gates are closed and all those things, if it wouldn't be in the paper or on the radio, there's a lot of people in St. Genevieve that really wouldn't even realize that the river was up. And that's just amazing compared to what it was before. I mean, it was a mess, and again, we were real happy to come out with the flood of '93, because without the flood of '93, we still might be fighting to try to get a levee built here. So if anything good came out of it, that certainly was one of the few things. So today we would be standing on top of what would be in back of you right here, the levee that's still part of it, and hopefully that can stay there and be part of the park and be a monument to the park. So, as any of you that live here, I'm sure all of us have seen people that come to town and are standing by that pole over there getting their picture taken with us, because they don't realize, it's amazing as far as where that water level really was, and it's even hard to imagine today without looking at the pictures, thinking back that far, 20 years ago, where that water really was. So I'd like to recognize, and there's probably way too many people here that were involved in the flood of '93. If you would all stand, anybody that was involved in the flood of '93, please stand. I know it's almost everybody here, so. Now I'd like to recognize former Mayor Beckerman and former Mayor Kathy Waltz and their help in in seeing the thing through and making sure that the levee, there was a lot of hard work in following through on that as far as a part of the city with the Corps and making sure that thing got built. You know, one of the facts that I know Bill's going to talk about a little bit later was that the flood fighting effort cost the city somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 a day to do. And I know at the time, Mary Anderson, who, rest in peace, is not with us today, but I'm sure that wasn't at the top of his list as far as the priorities go, but I'm sure he lost some sleep over wondering how the city was going to end up paying for all that. And especially right now, we're going through budgeting hearings, and we're trying to figure out a way how to patch or pave a street. And to think of those kinds of dollars, I'm sure he lost a little bit of sleep over that too. So with that, I will turn it back over to Bill, and thank you all for coming, and have a good day.
And Buck, am I right? You were a mayor in there?
Yeah, sort of.
Do you, right? Okay. I knew you didn't want to forget him, so I thought I'd put that in there. Next, I'd like to call on Casey Thomas. She's from Jason Smith, our Congressman Jason Smith's office. She has a few words to say. So, Casey, are you?
Cassie.
Cassie, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Let's down for you a little bit.
Okay. I'm honored to be here today, and I'm sorry that Jason could not be here. Very honored to be here and be a part of this park dedication. I was 14 years old whenever this flood happened. I remember watching on television and just amazed how things were going down, and I didn't think this town would actually be here when I was old enough to get here one day. So, very honored. Today, a park is created as a dedication to the residents, volunteers, and public servants who worked hard to protect this great community. 20 years ago, history was made during the flood of '93, but with the help of many people, St. Genevieve was able to not only preserve its rich history, but move forward toward an even better future. I'm thankful to be here today to present an American flag, a symbol of the American spirit of resilience, on behalf of Congressman Jason Smith. Thank you.
The process of filling a sandbag got to be a fine art in 1993. We had everything from tomato cages being used to hold the bags open to highway department salt trucks to fill bags in a hurry to get it done. It was because we had a lot of reserve waste screenings at Mississippi Lime and at Tower Rock Stone Company that we were able to get bulk material in, like you see back here, but at the same time fill 100,000 tons of waste rock from the local lime and quarries through personal efforts, people working day and night at the Valley Desert and the VFW Hall parking lot. You know, you can look at a levee or at a gauge and you see all that mound of rock there. Try to envision that with a wall of water on that side. And back here, you've got ponds of water sitting there to help hold down the sand boils, because what you see holding back the water there is only half of the issue. You also had water that seeped underneath the ground, underneath the levee, underneath the keyways that were built underneath the levee, that could have been an earthworm tunnel, could have been a mole tunnel. There were so many different areas that you had to watch in a levee. The top from getting seep and settling down, am I right? You people that know more about this than I do. And also had to watch out for those boils that might be over there in Phil Beckett's backyard. You know, a little leak that popped up over there could be the beginning of something that was tunneling its way all the way underground and popping up some 50 feet back behind the levee somewhere. So not only did you have all the water on the outside of the levee, but there might have been 3 feet of water sitting back here to help provide some back pressure for the boils that could develop and all. And these guys, these people, these ladies and gentlemen out here, watch that day and night. Watch the water percolate in these little pond areas back here, keeping an eye on them, making sure that they weren't carrying silt and stuff underneath the levee, but instead that they were running clean, that the water was clear and all. If it was running clear, it wasn't bringing silt with it. But if it started to get murky and muddy looking, it was carrying dirt along with it. And that's whenever it got serious. That's whenever you had to be careful about it and you had to do something to protect it. So some of the finer points of levee building that we are professionals at here in St. Genevieve. One comment for the next time that we do this: we need a bigger ledge on the podium. Okay, enough of my stories. I'd like to now recognize the members of our state legislature. We have with us both Senator Gary Romine and Senator Kevin Engler. I think each of those gentlemen have something to a presentation to make. So, Kevin, can we call on you first, please? Yes, sir.
Well, I'm happy to be here. You all happy to be here? What a great day. This is about the best weather I can ever remember on Jour de Sweat, as we call it, over in our area. We come over every year, and 20 years ago, there was a battle here. And I hate to say it saved St. Genevieve, because St. Genevieve would have come back. It's resilient. But it saved St. Genevieve as we know it. And that's really important. I mean, it was a battle. There was a siege. And it was water that was sieging the city, and everybody had to be mustered. And I think it's important today that we remember the people that fought it that are no longer here. 20 years is a long time. There are a lot of people that worked hard to save St. Genevieve as know it that have passed on. We remember those. We remember the people that came from out of the area. I'm happy to be one of those. Over in Farmington, we actually created our own desert there in the city parking lot there by First State Bank, because we've actually, after we all came over here several days, it was kind of crowded and tough, so we could create our own and just put it on trucks, and the city gave us all the trucks so that we could just bring the sandbags straight to the levee and fill them in Farmington. They did that in Perry County. People volunteered from Jefferson County, from Western St. Genevieve, because they cared. I hope that's not social commentary there that we have on the, but they cared about the city and the history. And I know you referred to the French.
Just a minute. This thing is starting to fake out on me.
Caught that one.
Sorry about this.
Okay. I know you mentioned the French, but it was a lot of us Germans that fought at this time. My grandpa Eisenbeis used to say, "By God, you can't tell us Germans. I mean, you can always tell us Germans, but you just can't tell us very much." And when they said there was no way to save the city, you can't tell us Germans very much, because by God, we could get it done. And we were just over a few days and worked in Farmington. You all carried the load. What a load! What a battle! And we want to remember that today. We've got a resolution from the state, and I won't go through all the whereases, but it's basically recognizing two things. One, the historical significance of you saving the downtown as we know it, and two, the start of this downtown project, this park. And I can tell you from all the cities that I've represented over the years, the ones that have kept up their downtowns and kept vibrant remain vibrant, the whole town. The ones that have let their downtowns go by the wayside, there's not much economic activity going on. So I would congratulate all the members of the Downtown Renewal Program, Jan and Mary Pura. I know that she worked on this project, and we've got other people that worked on it, and it's not done. Money's going to make, but it will be nice, because when I bring people from the out area, I always bring them down here. Although we walk around the area, I always show, you should have seen it. And my son's in-laws from Kansas City, and he's a French history professor at Central Missouri, wanted to but I had to take him down here. You should have seen it. Oh, it was unbelievable, and that was that high, and that's why other people. This will be a tourist draw because other people will want to. It will be another thing that, hey, you can go there and see where the floods were and actual photos and memories. That's enough. Thanks, Dick Greminger. I know that none of this happens from being a mayor without city council, the city councilmen that are here, approval to make it happen, because you get enough complaints, oh, we don't need that there, that you have to fight through it and say, yeah, it would be a good project. So we appreciate that. I know Gary has a resolution. I'll let him read the whole resolution, or as much as he wants, but this is what the resolution from the State House does, and I appreciate the effort that you all made in saving this heritage, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve you in the Capitol. Thank you so much.
And Senator Gary Romine, would you say a few words for us, please, sir?
You bet.
Get you all set up here.
Very good. It is truly an honor to be here today. As being, my grandpa's a railroad man, so I love having the railroad tracks in the backside of my property out on Fry Road. But the only time it operates is when the river gets too high around St. Gen here. And so I can always tell when the river's getting too high, but never as high as it was in '93. And as we see last summer being one of the hottest and driest summers on record, this summer's been one of the wettest and coolest. And our friends in South Central Missouri has gone through the experience of problems with flooding. And our hearts and our prayers go out to them. But it's a mindful state to realize that Mother Nature can play some harsh tricks. But one thing I found out being involved with St. Gen over the last several years is that a very resilient folks here. Folks that have a lot of heritage, and we want to protect that heritage. We want to protect that history. And so I can guarantee you that along with Kevin, that whatever we can do on the state level, we're more than happy to make sure we put our shoulder to the wheel and do our part to protect the heritage here in St. Genevieve. We do have a resolution, and I'll be happy to read it. I don't have the wordsmithing skills of Senator or Representative Engler, but he's always hard to follow. But I am very proud to serve with him in the state legislature. Let me read a little bit of this. Whereas the members of the Missouri Senate always welcome the opportunity to acknowledge milestones and events of history of the Show Me communities that have proven down through the years to be exemplary places to which to live, work, and raise families, and whereas the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri is home to the new River Gauge Park that commemorates the individuals and organizations that contributed to the heroic and successful efforts to combat the rising waters of the flood of 1993, and whereas on August 11, 2013, River Gauge Park will be dedicated, thanks in large measure to the work of the St. Genevieve Downtown Renewal Program and the city and the county governments of St. Genevieve in bringing this project to fruition. Whereas Mayor Rich Greminger, Mary Peru, Han Bronze, and the members of the St. Genevieve Downtown Renewal Program dedicate countless hours and energy to create the River Gauge Park. And whereas, in addition to the dedication ceremony and reception, a screening of Bill Nager's documentary will be shown at St. Genevieve High School Performing Arts Center. And whereas at the time of the flood of 1993, city residents were joined by volunteers from around the state, across the country, and from other countries in a united effort to thwart the effects of the rising waters and to ameliorate its effects after waters begin receding. And whereas it is fitting and proper that the Missouri Senate should pause in its diverse daily activities in order to recognize such an outstanding Missouri event as the dedication of St. Genevieve's River Gauge Park. I am very proud to serve this community, look forward to the opportunity to do our part to make sure that this heritage continues. Congratulations today on this celebration.
Thank you, Senator Romine, I'm sorry. There's a little quote. I've been working on this video for the last 4 months or so, and I feel like I know so many of you personally because I've been watching you every day. And you were a lot younger then. 20 years to be exact. Elaine Scher, who is no longer with us, makes a comment. She says, I know it's impossible to thank everybody, but I sure wish I could. And that's what today is about. Today is, if you will, maybe this is making closure on the flood of '93. Finally, taking care of some loose ends. Boy. Thought about doing something like this 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, the flood of '93 was just a little too close to home. Didn't really want to think about it, you know? But today I think we're ready. And today I think we're ready to put a cap on it. One of the people that couldn't be with us today is our city administrator at the time, David Anger. And we have from him a letter that I believe it is my honor to read. So I'd like to take this time to do that. Thank you for inviting me to attend the 20th anniversary flood commemoration at this year's Jour de Fête. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend. It hardly seems like 20 years have passed since the Great Flood, and I might qualify that and say the flood. It was a big flood. There's not too many things great about it except for how this community came together. I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to correct your grammar here. It still seems large and recent to me. No one would say, of course, that the summer of '93 was a happy time in St. Genevieve, but I believe it was the community's finest hour, something worthy of commemoration and reflection. And it is no surprise to me that 20 years later, the town is back better than ever. St. Genevieve has always been and will always be a very resilient community. I would love to have been with everyone in St. Genevieve again for a few hours. I'll be recovering from surgery on August 11th. I'm getting a pacemaker installed just a few days before and cannot travel for a while. But as I have so often this summer, I'll be thinking about the town on that day. On behalf of my wife Debbie, myself, my beautiful granddaughter, Dahlia Genevieve Anger, I wish everyone in St. Genevieve all the best. Dave Anger from Jackson, Tennessee. Kathy Waltz, would you please come forward? I think you have a few words from Dick Gebhardt for us.
Thank you, Bill. Colonel, Mayor, Senator, representatives that are here with us today. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity. Everybody here has a what happened to you in '93 story. In the '93 for the crest, I was living next door to Frank and Shirley until that 5-foot wall of water came right through the front of the house, and fortunately friends got me evacuated. But we all have a story to tell. And instrumental in the history now of St. Genevieve was our former Congressman Dick Gebhardt, and I'll read you his greetings now. To the Mayor of St. Genevieve and the citizens, today we pay tribute to the city of St. Genevieve and her beloved residents on commemorating the 20-year anniversary of the crest of the Great Flood of 1993. Although I am unable to be with you for this dedication, I wanted to send you all my best wishes. 20 years ago, our community was ravaged by floods that destroyed homes and fields, a record-setting torrent, the likes of which our community had never seen before, nor has it been surpassed. I am proud of our community for answering the call for public service and unwavering diligence and togetherness. The summer of '93 saw your entire community working together as a unit. Children, mothers and fathers, community leaders, National Guard members, sandbagging to save structures in this deeply rich, historic community. In our steadfast commitment to this community and in working with our federal officials, we were able to respond quickly and supply the people of St. Genevieve with the necessary federal assistance to begin forging ahead and rebuilding this cherished community. At this commemoration ceremony of River Gauge Park, we remember the resilience of this beloved community, her residents, and the generosity of countless others who assist in preserving and protecting the city of St. Genevieve. Sincerely, Richard A. Gebhardt.
Thank you, Kathy. The National Guard was a persistent, serious, and important presence in St. Genevieve in 1993. And representing them, we are very honored to have with us today Colonel Calvin Broughton, retired National Guard. Colonel Broughton, I know you there. I've been looking at you, right? Would you?
You know, I hate to say this because it tells how old I am, but I spent a little over 42 years in the Army, in the Army National Guard. And I participated in a lot of natural disasters over those 42 years. And one of the things in the military that we work a lot on, as you well know, is teamwork. And when you show up at a blizzard or a tornado site, one of the things that we work hard with the community is developing teamwork. Well, you know, when we showed up here in '93 with St. Gen, that was a non-issue. In fact, you taught us a lot about teamwork. But there were other factors that made us all, you know, we've talked about it many times in the Guard, that every Guardsman that deployed to the Great Flood of '93 here in St. Genevieve left here a better soldier. Every one of us. And some of the things that we learned, I was thinking about it driving down here, and I'll talk about a couple of those things. Determination, my. I mean, I thought I knew what determination was till I showed up at St. Genevieve. And you talking about a whole lot of focused, determined people. Your community was very focused and determined. And ingenuity. You know, I think one of the biggest parts of the success was the ingenuity of people at all levels. I mean, everybody from somebody down there in the valley, high desert, say, hey, I think I know a better way to do this. Or somebody like Bernie Bauman out here on the Solid Levee that needed to go home and take a nap. He and I used to have an ongoing thing about that. I'd say, Bernie, when's the last time you've been asleep? He could never remember. But anyway, that ingenuity was a big part of our success, this community's success. And maybe the biggest one of all was faith. And I'm just not talking about spiritual faith. I'm also talking about faith in each other. Everybody had everybody's back covered, I guarantee you. Every now and then, we'd have a little meeting up at the City Hall. We may squabble a little bit, just like all human beings, but in the end, when we walked out that door, we had each other's back covered. And I think that's the reason why all the people in the Guard came away better soldiers from this operation. So, on behalf of all those soldiers, I would like to let you know that every one of us will always have a very warm spot in our heart for the community of St. Genevieve. And it's nice seeing a lot of you guys after 20 years. I guess Bernie's the only one that didn't get older. Thank you.
Thank you, Calvin. Now I'd like to turn the program back over. Oh, let's see. I'm sorry. Tom Schulte. We want to get you up here for a few words. Tom is the district director with Senator Blunt's office, and he was a past National Guardsman himself.
First time we were ever in St. Genevieve was 1973.
1973. I'll tell you what, being a member of the National Guard was very important to me, and a lot of growth through it, but guys like Calvin Broden, he was here in 73, I was here in 73. There was a lot of great troops on the ground here in the state of Missouri and throughout the world that are Missouri National Guard members, and I think we need to give them a big round of applause for the country they serve so well. It's a real honor to be here for Senator Blunt. I wish I could be with you all today. And reflecting on 73, I remember getting called on Easter Sunday, April 22nd, 1973. I'm telling you how old I am now. We went to work, we were activated, and I finally went to bed on Tuesday. And the only reason I really couldn't get to bed is because of all the hard-working folks in St. Genevieve bagging those bags of sand. That same thing happened in 93. You know, the love of community, the dedication, the Vernie Ballmans. There's so many people in this community that are so great and so loving to their community and so dedicated. That's important. And people from the outside grew from your community. You to be commended for that. Luckily, Senator Danforth, Representative Gephardt, Senator Bond were able to get funding for the levee. That was because of you all, because you sold yourself and the great community you are. So we've got a lot of work to do yet. I know, Mayor, we've got some issues yet to finish the flood project. We've got Bob Mueller, we've got the National Park Service designation maybe. But the ideas and the dream through your community and your community growth comes from you all. And it's vitally important that it continues the great tradition of this rich American treasure. Thank you all so much, and Senator Blunt, I appreciate you all and all you do for your great community. Thank you.
Now I'd like to turn the podium back over to our mayor, who wants to recognize a few individuals who were instrumental in our success 20 years ago.
Thanks, Bill. There's a couple more people we would like to hear from. First of all, our emergency preparedness director at that time was Mr. Mick Swint, and he spent countless number of wakeless hours and meetings and watching and making sure everything was okay. And I'd like to hear Mick, if you'd like to say a few words.
Bill, I don't know. This is tougher than I thought it would be. But wow, what a difference 20 years makes.
Here, just in case you need.
Yeah. You know, the flood of '93 was just a testament to the tenacity of this community. A community that just wouldn't quit. You know, this fight started in our backyards and grew into a national event. I was the emergency management director for 15 years, starting 1990 to 2005. And when I agreed to take on what was then that part-time job, you know, I didn't know I was going to play just a little part in what would be one of the biggest natural disasters in our nation. And it is still amazing when I look back on what it took to beat the river in the summer of '93. I just think if we knew then that the river was going to go to 49 feet, that not only could we not have imagined that, I don't know that we could have even planned for the resources that it took to compete with Mother Nature then. But it just so happened that we had all of those resources at hand to fight a tremendous fight. And everybody was willing to help. Mississippi Lime, that supplied that fine limestone rock we all call excretings, that filled millions of sandbags in this effort. I look at Patty Nagger. I want to know, Patty, do your hands still hurt when you see a sandbag? They have to. Tar Rock Stone that supplied hundreds of thousands of tons of rock to bolster those sandbags and to build those levees. And then we had the expertise of 2 levee districts, along with the Army Corps of Engineers and the National Guard, local contractors, and trucks and equipment from all over the area, and the leadership of people like Vern Bowman and Emerald Loida, and all the members of their levee districts who joined together in one fight was just tremendous. And Bill, you started this. And then there were the people, the hundreds of National Guardsmen, inmates from the Farmington Correctional Center, buses of people from all over the state, individuals from across our nation, and some people even from abroad that came to help in this fight. But again, it was the people of this city and this county that started this fight in their backyards and joined together with their neighbors and saw this catastrophe through to the end. These are the people that took up that slogan that one of our guard captains quoted is, "We can do this." From, if you recall, from the flag at Fort Fox to the burlap wall, these are the people that make St. Genevieve what it is today. And then it was over. It was a long road, but it seems like just like that it was over. Water went down. We all went back to work, to our everyday jobs. Thank you, Lord. But I think it's important to also remember the devastation that the river left behind and what this city faced. It's important to remember the many people that brought this city back to life and protected it with a federal levee. Back then we felt it was, some of us felt it was important to have something to remind us of the magnitude of that event. That's why Vernie Bowman and I placed the original gauge at this location many, many years ago. And I'm pleased to know that this gauge and this park will now be a fitting reminder to what it took to save St. Genevieve. And I want to thank the committee and Bill and whoever to give me the opportunity to say thank you again. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Almost everyone that has spoken today has mentioned this gentleman, and we have to hear from him today. Vernie, without his continual knowledge and assets, he's still president of Levee District 3, and is a great asset to the community and to the city. Certainly in our discussions with the Corps and our continuing flood efforts that we're trying to get done. I don't know where he got all that knowledge, but we sure appreciate it. And Vernie, will you say a few words?
I get choked up worse than empty. It wasn't me. It was everybody, just like they said. Everybody pitched in. When you look back, you never forget. Brought out pictures recently. We did forget, I forgot how a lot of that levee was stacked. Even that is that's a true replica, but it's not 100% accurate. This town had an effort of sandbags, 3 to 4 bags wide, and we got a lot of pictures showing the wall. The wall on Main Street there was 16 feet. And it continued. It didn't stop until we hit the hill on the other side, and this side too. We had 3 places. It was a joint effort. It was unbelievable. I was lucky in my younger years to spend a little time in the military. It was a pleasure working with Colonel Broden. He was, matter of fact, we have a beer after a while, we can eat him. But the joint effort, and it was all the way through. I mean, you could go out anytime. We ate sometime 9, 10 o'clock. Go to Legion or go where they had food up at the VFW. Any of the feeding places, the Red Cross was here. The military was the biggest, strongest arm, I guess, that Mick and I had. We had our own city people. We had our own construction crews. We had military dump trucks. We had about 110 to 112, not all at one time, just civilian trucks, mostly tandem dump trucks. We had, I don't know how many, maybe half that or 60 or 80 military trucks. Different units moved in with 20 or 40. And we had 3 or 4 different, I got 4 or 5 different units in here. On top of that levee, it don't look high till you up there. Then it looks, if you went to the right side of that levee, as you were standing on it looking this direction, the water was at the tip of that levee, and the channel and the creek channel here, about 50 feet over. There's about another 20 feet there. We're right at 40 feet of water, right, just 50 feet north of that levee, and right behind us here on the right. And this continued right through here and behind MFA. And if you look at the MFA there, and you'll see some white cracks up the wall, we placed enough tons of rock such as this on that creek bank that it settled enough to crack that building up, and it's been repaired. There were so many things, like they said, the river. One thing I can see, and I have an opinion about the river now, and the thing is, we started fighting it in a low spot maybe in our yard, but we continued fighting it. And, well, we continued fighting it until it was almost 16 feet deep on Main Street and stopped it. That was amazing. When we started fighting it and kept it going, there was no end. There was no contracts on it. We started, and the city ran out of money, and the mayor then told me, he said, "Vern, we're out of money." He said, "Well, we can't quit." So we didn't. Everybody, it was, we were organized with the military and the city, and even every meetings, and every meeting we had an area captain, worked good with the area captains. Mick and I made our tours every day. It was kind of nice getting the privilege of going through wherever you wanted to, anytime you wanted to. They were here with helicopters, as military. We got up in the air and inspected things from the air, different times in the big field and all over. It was unbelievable effort, and by everybody, and what heartwarming when you see on TV now, other towns have disasters like the tornado happens, and it took us 3 months here. We were fighting it for 2. But the tornado come through in one 15-minute period, the town is gone. Now they all say, and different disasters in different areas, different fires, how people work together. it's very interesting to know that that really goes on not only here but around the country. That's part of what makes us a great nation. So I really didn't have a speech plan, so I don't want to bore you no more. So, but I want to take you up on that, you guys.
Thank you, Vern. Mick. Did you tell me that you've been levy president, levy district number 3 since 1974? That the levy district was formed, levy district 3 was formed after the flood of 1973.
After 73, it organized in 74.
Yeah, okay. And the farmers levy district had already been in place. That was already...
Farmers levy district was levy district number 2, and originally levy district number 1 was years ago in the cottonwoods only, and it got disbanded, and the levy district 2 formed the big field and the
Right.
cottonwoods together later, and then we became levy district 3
Yeah.
in 74.
Okay. And in that, if you want to call it the hierarchy, like you've all reminded us, we've all worked on this together, but some of the other people we talked about, Emerald Lauda being the president of the Farmers Levy District, and then the town being divided into 3 areas, and 2 of those captains, those area captains, are no longer with us. Alvin Dunsey oversaw the central area, assisted heavily by Vernon Schwent and Walt Tim of Sylvanus and the Presbyterian folks down at the Presbyterian Church. They worked on the levee, the central levee I'm talking about, from the Presbyterian Church, building up Gabaree Street there to the first high ground you could find, coming around behind the Presbyterian Church, and then it kind of took over by the Sylvanus crew and kept on coming, and volunteers all around, wrapped around here, and kept going this way all the way through the Quarry League fields at 3rd Street and tied into the bluff back there. So that was the central area. On the north end, you had Louis Sexar was captain there, but he was heavily assisted by Gary LaRose, who's here with us today. Gary, thanks for being here. Tim Uding was heavily involved in that. You know, when you start getting into naming names and stuff, there's a lot of people that you're going to forget, so you might as well just say thanks to everybody, and that's what we're doing. And then on the south end, we had Jerry Roth working on the south end, the burlap wall area there, and tying in with the Marina Road and the garden, working with the farmers down there, plus just an incredible number of private efforts like Shirley and Frank's house, houses tucked out there, isolated areas, the Main Street and the Wiener, where Wiener Street comes into Main Street there, just it was something. And Mick, I'm glad you brought up the part about the "We Can Do This" slogan, because that became the catchphrase for us, and it's what kept us moving. And I guess I always thought that you coined that, but you already passed that off to. Do we know the individual that?
Steve Cole, he was a captain with the Guard.
Steve Cole, C-O-L-E?
K-O-H-L.
K-O-H-L. All right, Steve Cole. "We Can Do This" slogan was heard on everybody's lips back then, and it's what kept us moving forward. We were reminded at the 7 a.m. meetings and the noon meetings every day, and it kept us moving forward. We're about to ready to wrap this up. I, for my part, wanted to tell you a little bit about my story. I walked into City Hall the first week of July and offered my services as a still photographer to City Administrator David Anger to document whatever might need to be photographed in the city of St. Genevieve that would relate to the physical plant. There were utility poles that were having to be raised. There was sewer pipes that had to be raised. There was all kinds of physical things related to the city. So the first rolls of film that I exposed during the flood of '93 was not people working in sandbagging. It was of utility poles and sewer covers and pump stations and that sort of thing. But I had the freedom to move around in the 3 different areas and stuff, and so I started shooting shots of the running shots of the levees being built, and started thinking in terms of putting some still images together with music whenever it was all said and done. And then the water kept coming up, and I said, "Oh, here's the crest. So I scurried around to get running shots of every levee in town at what we thought was the crest at 45 feet, whatever it was, you know. Get finished burning off about 10 rolls of film, and only to find out the next day the river's coming up another 1.5 feet. Let's go do it again. Photographing. Get home at night and I would feel guilty because I hadn't pitched a single sandbag the day I was taking pictures. My wife would remind me that what I was doing was important. Thankfully, she was down there doing enough work at the Valley Desert to cover both of us, to cover my you-know-what, you know. And so I kept on, and we started getting into this docudrama. I started shooting videotape. Eventually logged some 50 hours of videotape, not to mention about 100 rolls of film that I took during that time. And when it was all over, I realized this is a history-making event. So with that said, I want to invite everybody to come up and see a rework of the video that I did 20 years ago following the flood of '93. I've gone back to the original footage and recaptured that digitally, remastered it, tightened up some of the editing and everything, and I think I did a fair job of telling the story of the flood fight of '93. So I'd like to invite you all up there tonight. Thanks to the Downtown Renewal Project, who is sponsoring the event and making it possible for it to be free of charge, because I want it to be a celebration, if you will, and a closure to the flood of '93. So if you can make it, I'd love for everybody to come. Doors open at 6. Yeah, seating is first come, first served. Sandra, is there anything else that, besides refreshments? Oh, by the way, there won't be any beer up there showing tonight, so you guys are going to have to go out and take care of that before you come out.
Possibly to mention that our fundraising efforts do begin today.
Okay. Yes, so you've heard about the park, you've heard about the flood of '93, and I think everybody here understands what the concept is behind the river gauge park that we envisioned for this site. And if there is, here's a poster. This is one way that you can contribute by, if you care to purchase a poster. Some images from back then have been laid out. This is the same image that's on the podium back there. Yep. So this is, and if anyone would care to check this out or contribute in any other ways or larger amounts, please visit with, I guess, Jan or Sandra afterwards. A limited edition poster. So some memories of that. We've got a few refreshments here for afterwards, and I think with that we will adjourn this time, and please stick around, visit some if you want. Thank you everybody for coming.
Hi, thank you for watching Channel 798.
Thank you for watching Channel 7 and 98.
Hi. Thank you very much for watching Channel 798.